I mean, Parker's back. I feel like Parker should be the host tonight.
I can host.
Yeah, and here's the problem. We're actually recording this time. I was the host the one time we didn't record.
Oh boy.
And Colin's like, "You did so good. You really need to do it again." And I'm like, "Nope."
Oh my god, we did like an hour and a half pod. And it's just nope. The only people who'll ever hear that is you and me.
Yep, gone forever.
Yemi Baki Yoko, oh yeah, Samina Mina, Edward Mende, Samina Mina Sam Sadate. He comes from Senegal.
And I think going out and get Saul was the top transfer of the market for Chelsea.
Chesney could have been in the shower smoking a cigarette like he was at Arsenal, and we still would not have scored.
My rants have been fueled by Scotch. Don't get it twisted.
Big Rom. Man, fuck you.
In Roman we trust, right?
You and me are gonna have a battle royale about Jorginho and diving.
The flag stays down.
Welcome to another episode of the Flag Stays Down podcast. Oh, and I'm so excited. We're into July and we are back to a full staff. You got myself, Andy, find me at Comiskey North. You got Matt, who's been here the last couple of weeks. Thank you, Matt. And you got Parker, finally back after taking the Oregon Trail out to Colorado. What the hell, man?
I was not, but once everything got packed up and then shipped out and I was traveling for work, it kind of just has to happen that way. So I had a few things to figure out in the homeland first, and then happy to be back though. Happy to be here. I've missed it. It's funny how you miss the routine, you miss the ritual of getting together on a Sunday night. So it's long overdue. Happy to be back. Happy to just be hanging out, boys.
Well, we're happy to have you back, and glad that you didn't get what was the disease in Oregon Trail? Dysentery. Yeah. Okay. Well, at least you're clear of that. So very happy.
As far as you know.
I think they have a cream for that.
But for anyone listening, I made the move from Minnesota out to Colorado. Just needed a lifestyle switch. Minnesota's too damn cold for too long, and then also too hot and humid in the summer when you want to be outside and enjoying it. So the wife and I packed up the two dogs and we headed out west. And so far it's great. It's took a bit to get used to the altitude, but now that we are acclimated, it's great. We're outside more often than we're not, and it's been beautiful and friendly. What we like is that there's a lot of transplants out in Colorado, non-natives who are very welcoming, very friendly, and want to get to know you and want to be friends because they're in the same boat as you. So where Minnesota felt a little cliquey at times, Colorado's been pretty welcoming and forthcoming, and I can't wait to make it down to their the British Bulldog, I believe, is where they watch games for Chelsea. So can't wait to get down there for the first couple matches.
Well, Matt, how are things on the home front with you? Staying domestic here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, things are good. Basement is coming along nicely. Our little one Miles got his first volleyball experience this past weekend. We went to a tournament called Wapaka Boat Ride in Oshkosh. For those that don't know, it is the largest grass volleyball tournament in the world. They were celebrating their 40th year this year. It's a tournament that we've all played in before. Us going to college there and stuff like that. It's kind of our first kind of entry into that kind of volleyball community up there. But yeah, we've been playing in it, or I've been playing in it for probably close to 15 years, something like that, something crazy. But I didn't play this year. I had the little one, but got him a little bit of a taste of it. So yeah, it was good. And hung out with my wife and her family in Appleton, and then came back this morning. So yeah, it was all good. Fired up the grill, had some dinner, and here we are. So all is going well. Mr. Collins, how was your weekend?
It was good. And man, I haven't had the experience of like, oh man, I can't wait for the weekend. Like this week sucks. I can't wait for the weekend, because as I've explained on this pod, I had a pretty easy job for a while. I made the mistake of getting a new job. So now I actually have to do things. So it's been a very enjoyable weekend. I'm in sales now, so I had to shave, so I no longer have a beard, which is weird. Neck's all itchy. But took my dad up to a Timber Rattler game up in Appleton. That was my Father's Day gift to him. We got the all-you-can-eat seats, front row down the first base line. Oh man, dude, let's see, I ate 8 hours ago and I'm still like sickly full. So shout out to the Timber Rattlers for putting on a great buffet.
Got your money's worth,
right? Stick it to the man. All right, well, boys, we've got quite the pot ahead of us here. Parker, we got to get your opinion on some things that Matt and I have talked about the last couple of weeks. And, we've had some new developments in some of those, specifically with Mason Mount. We've got a kit dropping tomorrow, which Matt and I previewed a little bit last week, but we'll get a little bit more in depth this week. Cesar Azpilicueta finally left, and very emotional goodbye from him. And we have a very special guest. We've got Scarf Boy himself, Ethan, joining us in a little bit to talk scarf culture. So let's start with the negative. I feel like I'm riding a little too high right now. I need to knock down a peg, and we'll start with Mason Mount. So Mace with the club for, 18 years, 19 years, some BS like that. Had a hell of a journey in the last year with contract extension talks, and now he's at Manchester United, where his father has now on video hugged him in the locker room and told him that he's home. Parker, you're shaking your head. Let's hear from you on this.
I am, and like you said, man, it's been a bit of a roller coaster with him. Obviously, there was continued negotiations, continued talk. It seemed like there was still a chance for him to hang on. The part that really irks me is it feels like he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. You know, you can't sit there and say that you wanted to stay, and his interviews and the comments that he's made in one of his first interviews, he said, it became clear that I wasn't part of Chelsea's plan long term. It's like, when did you get that impression, and how did you get that impression? And we have a new manager now going forward. So how do you know what the impression is for you long term? So some of the comments that he's made, it just seems like he's talking out of both sides, man. And that's where, for a kid that grew up in this club, who's experienced the highs at Chelsea, who was 8 years old, repping the kit, to today repping the kit, you would have expected a lot different of a reaction from him. You would have expected the decision to at least appear harder for him, and I didn't get that. And his apology, I'll just touch on it, just didn't seem super genuine to me. It didn't seem like it was very heartfelt. I don't mind like writing down notes for people who are public speaking or recording a video to make sure you get the thoughts out that you want. But at the same time, it's not live. You can re-record a video if you want, if it doesn't come out the way you want it. So I don't really understand it, but it seemed very canned. It seemed like someone helped him. And one of my least favorite things about sports are when your family's involved and it feels like they're chirping in the ear a little bit more than other people would be. And Mace's dad has kind of become a thorn. And so I'm happy to see him go after all of this. I'm happy he's not with us anymore, that we don't have to deal with this. It felt similar to Brett Favre sagas, Aaron Rodgers sagas. You liked what they would do on the pitch or the field, but you just didn't want to deal with the shit anymore. You just didn't want to deal with the constant media, the constant headache, the constant hearing about it. So good riddance. Thanks for the service. But I hope we smoke you when we play you.
So I've seen the term snake thrown around. I've seen the comparison to Thibaut Courtois thrown around. What do you guys think? Is that a justified label for Mason Mount?
I mean, fuck them, right? Like at the end of the day, just fuck off. Two things. And Collins, I know you're familiar with this. Keep parents out of any of this media. Let's just start with that.
Gio Reyna.
We can look at Gio Reyna. We can look at Christian Pulisic's dad. I have Mason Mount's dad. Shut the fuck up. You are not. Yes, I understand advocating for your son. I get that. But stop talking shit the whole time and trying to make headlines for yourself. Just shut the fuck up. Second of all, Mason, thank you for helping us in a dark time when we had the transfer ban and Frank and everything like that. He showed he could play. We appreciate that. We needed him to show out, and he did. But let's be very clear about something. You wanted top tier money when you weren't even playing. Like, you didn't even crack the starting 11. You were barely used as a sub. And B, you were going to a team where you're still not even going to be on the starting 11. You still don't even crack that. You might be used as a sub at best. Why? Like, at this point, nobody fucking cares. So, goodbye. Don't care. Have fun.
Parker, I like what you said, and Matt, you just reminded me of it here. What you talk about him talking out of both sides of his mouth, right? There was all the talk of, oh well, he wanted more money. Oh well, he didn't want to sign a contract that long. Oh, everything that was rebuffed in terms of what Chelsea had offered him. And, now obviously, none of us are his agent, none of us are within the club, but a lot of this stuff tends to leak out. And the stuff that, has come from multiple sources is kind of the stuff that you have to trust. And what I've seen is that we offered him $250 a week with incentives, that we had offered him 4 to 5 years. And I don't know if you guys remember, but, when the negotiations were still going on, it was, he wants more, right? It's not that it was so much about the money, but he feels he deserves more. And then, he didn't want to sign a contract 4 to 5 years in length. He wanted like a 3-year contract. Well, what did he go and sign at Manchester United? $250K a week, 4-year with 1-year option. So it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the length of the contract. I think you guys are spot on. It's about his parent chirping in his ear. Tony Mount, who was his agent up until February, chirping in his ear and orchestrating a move.
The other thing I'll comment on is I think Chelsea the past 2 years signed some pretty silly contracts, or signed some people to pretty silly contracts. They were making way too much per week, and not unjustified. And so if I was Mason Mount, I would look at that and be like, well, look, you guys are doing this, right? You bring in Koulibaly, you bring in Chills, you bring in all these players, super high wages. Kepa's on super high wages too. And I've been here from day one, and, I deserve that or more, right? Because Mace was our player of the season 2 years in a row. Like he was that guy for us. Matt, you said it great. He helped us out of a dark time, and he was one of our best players 3-4 years in a row, if not the best player. So if I was him, I'd be like, yeah, you guys set that bar and I'm above that bar, so pay me more. So I think we were a little bit of the problem, or the management the past couple of years. Now, if you look back on what Enzo's making, what Madueke is making, what Mudryk is making, the new signings that we've gotten in the door, that's the new kind of norm for us, not those older deals that you can look back on. And so I think that was the hardest part to get. This is me speculating 100%, nothing to back this up, but that's where I think like we couldn't get him on board. Like, no, that was old shit. We don't do that anymore. This is new stuff. This is how we operate. And he's like, no, I want that old deal. Give me that. Give me what those guys got, because I deserve it. And I'm guessing that communications would break down over that. So, but then he got to realize what his true market value is in a free open market bidding. He got what we were offering him too. So he rolled the dice and it didn't work out for his benefit.
Yeah, and that's the one positive I'll say out of all this is that for a player who's on an expiring contract, we made $70 million US. That's a great chunk of change. So I give credit to Boley and company for swinging that in a situation where they could have lost him 12 months from now for free.
The other point that I don't know if you guys talked about this or not, but I'll make it very quick. The bit of good business that we did do was the amount we got for Kai Havertz. I thought that deal was going to go for a little amount, like we were going to pay a bunch for him and then have to ship him out for like a fraction of the cost. We basically got Kai. We paid his wages for the 3 years, and then we sold him for close to what we paid for him. And so it was a trial that didn't work. Obviously, sour grapes at the end of the day, but the fact that we were able to pull that deal off was impressive to me. Whereas you look at someone like Pulisic, who came in for a big tag and we're going to get nothing for him back. Lukaku, who came in for a big tag, we're going to get nothing back for him. Those are the deals that look back and they hurt you a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Lukaku, because more rumors have come out today from the big names, from the Ornsteins, from the Romanos, about Lukaku. You know, as you guys know, Inter has been claiming broke for a while now. So initially they just wanted Ram on a loan for another year. Boley and company said no, that's not going to work. Then they Inter offered a loan with an option to buy. Nope, you got to buy him. Here's our valuation. Then it was loan with the requirement to buy. Nope, not going to work. Now Inter are bidding 40 million pounds for Lukaku. Take it. Take the money and run. This was a great bit of business by Boley and Igbali and Winstanley and all those characters in the front office there. Way to hold your ground on a lot of these deals. This has been a fantastic selling window so far.
Hold out for 50.
No,
Okay,
now you're getting greedy.
Am I though? If they're doing everything that they can with all these different options, like loan to buy, loan with requirement to buy, loan and whatever, like, okay, we'll pay 40 mil. Okay, they knew that they had that in their back pocket. So if they're willing to just outright throw 40 mil, they'll throw more at them. They were trying to just do whatever they could with the least amount. They came in swinging very low, which means they had enough to go higher. So force them higher if they want him that badly, which it looks like they do. And I'm sure Ron is probably talking to people at Inter going, get me over there, do what you have to do. You could probably milk that out for about 50. I don't see why not.
Yeah, he's
at least swing back with something, right? Don't just be like, okay, we'll accept 40. No, just be like, you can have it for 50. We'll set it at 50 and we'll go from there. Even if you milk out another 5 mil, put it at 45. Hey, it's still money.
So but before we transition to some good things, one question I saw posed today was, who did more damage to the club in their way of getting out? Lukaku or Mason Mount? Who's the bigger snake out of those two?
To themselves, like who did more personal damage?
Who did more damage, to the club, to the fan base, etc. And I think it's an interesting point, because it was two different ways of getting out of the club, and both, I would say, are kind of backhanded ways of getting out. So I'm curious. I could be swayed either way on this one, but I want to know if you guys have an opinion.
At first blush seems like Mace. But I don't know if that's recency bias, because Rom did a lot of damage before, and this has been going on for years. So if I'm looking at just his exit right now in isolation, then I would have to weigh it to Mount. But Rom, the interview, all of the damage he's kind of caused in his escapades leaving the club, definitely. Yeah, I'll say Rom. Actually, I'll say Rom, because he did financial damage too. He cost a ton of money, and we're not getting all of that back. So he damaged the club that way, and he was not a spokesman for the club. He has said bad things about the club publicly. So I'll say Rom.
Rom, he's a bitch. He's just a bitch. Oh, I've always wanted to come back and play for Chelsea, blah, blah, blah. He gets injured and, oh, well, I'm not playing and I really want to go back to Italy. Shut the fuck up. Get out of here. Like, Italy wants you. That's the only suitor that you have right now, is the club that you played for a couple of seasons. That's the only club that wants you back. You don't have anywhere else to go. You could go to the Saudi league, but you don't want to go there. Fine. Who else is coming knocking down the door trying to get you? Nobody. It's Rom.
See, now I agree with you guys, but I will at least put the point out there that what Rom did was rip the Band-Aid off real quick. The damage was immediate, and then it was over. The ties between the club and him, and between us and fans and him, was severed immediately. You can look at my thing in the intro of, hey, Big Rom, fuck you, right? What he did was terrible, but it was immediately, ties were cut. Mason Mount has dragged this out to the point of we almost lost him for nothing. And the way he did it, like we said, was talking out of both sides of his mouth. I think if we're looking at who's more of a snake, it's Mason Mount. Who's more of a bull in a china shop? It's Lukaku, easily.
I still think it's Rom, just because either way you look at it, he's still a Chelsea player, right? He is still a Chelsea player. So the fact that this has been going on for a year and a half and there's still no end in sight just annoys the hell out of me. So
Yeah,
Mason is done. No, you're good. So like, Mason is done, right? He's over to United. Fine. Whatever he has to say it. Whatever hairstyle he wants to record his video in, fine. Go nuts. Frosted tip, motherfucker. But fine, it's done. Rom is still on the books. He is still just dragging this shit out. I only want to play for Inter, blah, blah, blah. That's the only team that will even consider you at this point. So it's still ongoing. I would flip that and say Mace's was more Band-Aid, because now it's done. It's over. He's not with Chelsea anymore. Rom is still our problem that we have to deal with.
Collins, I liked your point. Mace is a bigger snake. Rom did more damage. I'm not saying that you have to spend your whole career at Chelsea, because it's business, right? You can go wherever, but do it with some goddamn grace. Do it with some class. There are ways you can exit the club gracefully and honestly and openly and emotionally. Like you can, and you don't have to. It's whatever, right? But like there are ways to do it. And then obviously with the Man United dressing room video getting leaked and the interviews he's given, it's just not the way we would have seen this going down. So someone who was signed as a kid, just that's where it feels super, super snaky. Not that he's at United. I don't care that he's at United. don't care where he would have went. I just do it with some class.
So I will say that I am excited going into this season, and my expectations still aren't high, but I'm excited to at least see. Pochettino seems to be bringing in like a correct attitude in this club. He talked about in his opening interview where this is Chelsea. You don't have, like, I'm not telling these guys, hey, you have 6 months to show me what you got. We are training to beat Liverpool day one, match day one. You have to win at this club. He has shaken off the Spurs very quickly, which is nice. And you look at Mount and Havertz and some of these other players jumping ship to rivals. The first sight of a bad season. I want to give real quick credit to Matt's favorite player, Mark Cucurella, who this week, when asked, like, hey, are you planning on leaving? Like, what's the deal here? He acknowledged he had a terrible season. And he said, no, like, I am here to fight for my position. Like, this is on me to fight. This is what we need in the club. So I think, we've kind of beat the topic to death of selling off Deadwood. I think we finally have done that, because you look at Noni Madueke and some of the interviews he's given all summer. Man, he is, just on his interviews alone, guy's gonna be a star. He's been fantastic. You got Cucurella saying things like this. You got Kepa saying he wants to stay and fight. If we bring in another keeper, he wants to stay and fight. These are the attitudes that we need at Chelsea Football Club.
And I'll close the topic, Collins, by saying one of my favorite quotes that I see all the time from Reece James is, if you have to persuade them to carry the bricks, they're not the ones to build with.
Love it. Well, turning to another right back, one who has left us, sadly, Cesar Azpilicueta. Much different of a goodbye video, I will say. But boys, any thoughts on Dave?
Thank you. That's really all you need to say. Just a true professional in everything that he did. Definitely a legend at the club. I think that goes without saying. Just somebody that loved to play. You saw his passion every single time he was out there. And unfortunately, age catches up with all of us. And for him to go back to Spain and play and probably be closer to his friends and family and everything like that before he kind of hangs it up officially makes sense. We're seeing a lot more of this with a lot of players kind of going back to their home countries, or going back to like the clubs where they got their starts and stuff like that. It makes sense. So yeah, I'm definitely saddened by it, but definitely very thankful that he had a huge part in Chelsea through all these years.
Dave won it all, and he is a true Chelsea legend. There's not much else you can say about him. He's just professional, great ambassador, cared, gave a shit, wanted to be out there, moved around, didn't complain, played center back, played right back, played wing back, played wherever he had to be, and always bombed up and down where he could, and did what he could to help the club on and off the pitch. He's one of my favorite Chelsea players. He's just he was always there when I became like a bigger and bigger fan, and he was that kind of constant that we always saw. So Dave will be missed. His video made me tear up. It was great. It was you could feel it from him, and it was cool. It was cool how he came and he embraced it. He joked about the nickname Dave, and the line that got me at the end was, you called me Dave, and I'll call you home. It's just like Stamford Bridge is his home. He's welcome back any day, anytime.
This video is hard to watch, like without tearing up a little bit. 508 total appearances for Chelsea, which is crazy for a guy who we bought for £7 million. He completed club football here at Chelsea, 2 Premier League trophies, won the FA Cup, won the Carabao Cup, won the Champions League, won 2 Europa Leagues, UEFA Super Cup, won the Club World Cup. The absolutely, we'll call him Dave. We'll also call him legend. So I would say that he, maybe not a Mount Rushmore because of the age of the club, but he's certainly, I would say, maybe a top 10 player at Chelsea all time. So I will say I will be watching Atletico Madrid a little bit this season, which is something I would not normally do.
Yeah, it'll be fun to tune in just to see him out there.
We're still talking about Saul, right, Collins?
And Murata. Don't forget about Murata.
Oh, of course. He's still offsides.
All right. Well, let's transition to something a little more positive here. We're gonna take a break from our Chelsea conversation to speak with our special guest for the evening, Scarf Boy himself. We'll talk a little bit scarf culture. All right, and we are pleased this week to be joined by Ethan. You can find him online at Scarf Boy on Twitter. What was the title you're giving? The foremost collector of scarves in Southeast Wisconsin? Did I nail that or no?
Foremost football scarf expert of Southeastern Wisconsin. Yep, that's what I am.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. Parker and I are kind of dabbling in scarf collecting a little bit here, so we figure we'll bring on an expert to kind of fill us in on the hobby itself.
Yeah, well, it's the kind of thing where you gotta start, and you can't really go straight from 0 to 60. Like if you just buy a bunch right in a row, that doesn't mean you have a whole collection. Like you kind of just started. It's one of those things where like you accumulate a couple every summer or every season, and they grow and they grow and they grow, and then you remember, oh, this is the one from way back when, or like, oh, this is the one from that game, or whatever. Especially like half and half scarves or something like that. Yeah, it's a cool hobby.
So I understand if you don't have an exact count, but what's your about rough count right now of how many you have?
I'm gonna say between 40 and 50, probably. I think I got my very first one probably coming up on about 10 years ago. I got it as a present from my godfather. It was like on my Christmas list. And it was kind of before I even I had a team, but it's not before I was like ride or die for my team. And I just put it on there. And the one he got me wasn't even my team, but I still love it. I know exactly which one is first. I always try and wear it in front of him so that he knows I'm out here like using his present. But it's actually an Everton one. And it's a really nice, like thick fabric, definitely not a summer scarf. And it's like a really nice quality one. Sometimes you get a scarf that's just a little bit flimsy and it's like a promotional item, but no, that one is a really nice one.
So I out of your collection, is it a lot of fan group scarves? Is a lot of officials? Do you prefer one over the other?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That I don't have a count on. At first, when I was like new into collecting scarves, I didn't really understand the difference of that. And then about 5 years ago, the Madison Flamingos came around, the Forward Madison Flamingos came around, and they kind of helped me to realize the difference between like official merch and then like fan made merch. In Madison, we have what's called the Flock. And in my opinion, the Flock has most of the coolest scarves. But then every once in a while, the club itself will put out a really good scarf. The Flock ones, actually, they are a little bit more active about on social media. So it's easier to find which are the cool ones. Whereas when you go to like Brees Stevens Field for a game, you just kind of pause in the club store and there's like, oh, here's a new one. Or like, there's the 4 for this year or whatever. So there definitely is a big difference between the club ones and the fan ones, but it all depends on what the scarf looks like itself,
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'll give you the question first, and then I'll tell you my story, because I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it too. But what's your favorite scarf that's tied to like a story that you have? And I'll give you mine, because as I was unpacking mine, I was kind of going through, and you were saying earlier, it was like a trip down memory lane. You start looking like, oh yeah, this is when I got this. This was that day. That was that match. And I've got one from the match I saw where it was at US Bank Stadium in Minnesota. It was the US women's national team versus Switzerland.
Nice.
And to this day, it was one of the best goals I've ever seen live. It was Carly Lloyd, and I think it was from like 37, and it was an absolute thunderbolt. I've talked about it on this podcast before because it was one of the best goals I've ever seen live still. And that scarf, like it symbolizes that to me because I got it down that day and it was something that's still cool. And I don't have mine displayed yet, but I'm looking forward to getting them up in the new house and having that sort of visual memory up on the wall.
Yeah. And it's really funny how some scarves like transcend time and they're just like your all time, your favorite one of this team or your favorite one of this, whatever. But then exactly the opposite too. Some scarves are like one exact moment in time and you remember exactly where this scarf happened or whatever. Yeah.
Do you have a story like that you could share?
Yeah. I had a funny, I was telling you guys before we started recording, I took a trip to England in 2015. So I was still in high school and I was a little bit more like, I had pretty much, and by the way, I'm a big Man City fan. And it has definitely started, in my opinion, before they got good. But now they're really good. So it's sometimes unpopular to cop to that, but that's fine. It's not a bad thing, best team in the world. But anyway, my family took a trip to England. And so we went to Manchester and we did the whole tourist thing in England. So we went to some London clubs, including I actually did go to Stamford Bridge, which it's a really nice stadium. It's the club museum is probably the coolest in Stamford Bridge. I will give you guys that. But we went to Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, and Man United. And we went to Old Trafford before we went to the Etihad. And somewhere along like the planning of this trip, like not while we left home, but somewhere along the line, my brother kind of came out as a Man United fan. And that was like shocking for us and like shocking for me, mostly because I could tell he was like just doing it to get me. So anyway, so we went to Old Trafford and out of the 4 that I listed, man, Old Trafford is a dump. I don't know if you guys knew that, but like the roof is leaking, the bathroom smells terrible. Their club, they have a lot of trophies and that's great, but they not much else in terms of stadium. But anyway, so we were at like the other thing they have there is the club shop. The club shop is huge at Man United. It's probably the most important thing in the whole building. But anyway, we were in the club shop and like we were talking about, I couldn't find one of the official scarves that I really liked. Like some of the designs were lame and Man United doesn't really seem like a checkered team. So I didn't want to get a checkered scarf. But so I decided to like leave the club shop and I was like righteously indignant to be there because like no way a citizen would want to be seen in the club shop of Man United. So I was like, okay, I'm not even giving this team my 10 pounds. I'm not even going to buy one. And so I decided to walk. And we got outside and there was one of the scarf sellers. I don't know what you want to call them, like basically a bootleg scarf seller. And he was out there selling scarves for £1 less. So I went up to my mom and I convinced her to give me only 9 pounds. I was like, no, don't give me, it was 9 pounds. And then I was like, no, only give me 8. I'll tell this guy I only have 8 pounds. That's the best I can do. And he'll probably give me one. And I went over there and I talked to him and he had a whole English accent and I had to figure out how to understand him. And I did. And of course it's not, that hard. But anyway, so I didn't give the club my money. I gave 8 pounds to a scarf bootlegger outside of the Old Trafford Stadium. And it's a really, really, really cool scarf. I think I can show you, but it's a podcast, so I probably wouldn't translate. But it's like a really cool gradient, which is really hard to pull off in scarves because all the stitches are squares. But yeah, it's a really cool scarf and I didn't have to give my money to the rags. So it's one of my favorites.
I like that. Can't financially support United.
Oh, no way.
At least we can all agree on that. So that's good.
I don't want to pay the Glazers dividends. I'm good.
Man, Parker, you got me thinking. I've got 2, and they involve the 2 of you, Matt and Parker. The first, let's see, I'll turn my screen here. Parker, you and I both got this one when you went to your first Ford Madison game this year, the Pride Month. Yep. Always forward, never straight. And that's now what I wear when I go to matches. So it's a great fan made kit and it's not Ethan, you talked earlier about summer scarves and and winter scarves. That one's more of a summer scarf, I would say. It's because my son wears the Vamos Flamencos one, and his neck just sweats every match. So that's a good one. And then Matt, when Chelsea came to Milwaukee with the Champions League trophy, and we got those, and Andre Flo was there, and he signed them. That was also another very special moment. So now that I think about it, the way that scarves, just like a lot of things can bring back those memories, kind of have that emotional attachment to them. That's Parker. That was a great point by you. So in terms of scarf culture, I know Ethan, you were telling us about how the different fan groups offer those out. We talked about a little bit about the Flock in Madison. Do you ever trade or exchange scarves when you get them, or are they too many memories behind them all?
Yeah, no, that definitely is a thing. I definitely am a participator on the scarf market. If you mentioned that Chelsea came here with the Champions League trophy, did they play a game around here ever?
No, it was in the middle of winter, the year after, or 4 months after we beat you in the Champions League final.
Right.
They came down to they were supposed to go to Chicago, I believe, but because Milwaukee has such a big Chelsea supporters group, they came to us instead. So cool. They had a big party at Central Standard. Had a couple of players there. They had Brandon London, who does the like Chelsea official podcast, kind of emceeing it. Yeah, it was a great night. Also ended up coming away with a signed N'Golo Kante jersey, which is another favorite of mine, but it's another story.
To turn into impromptu scarf meets. Like sometimes it's hard to convince somebody to trade their only one away. So sometimes you got to find folks who might have more than one. But those kind of events where like a team comes and you can trade, Chelsea Syracuse or Chelsea Rhode Island, whatever gear. Those are the times you get the coolest stuff, I think. But what I was going to say is Man City actually played a game here in Wisconsin this summer, and they were over at Lambeau Field. And that was a whole event. I met people from like Seattle who were Man City fans, and Texas, they came up, and I actually planned out ahead. And so I had a couple of scarves to trade. My fan group usually does a run of like 20 over at the Highbury in Milwaukee. And what'll end up happening is we'll sell 17, and I'll just let Kyle know, hey, I'll just buy the rest. However many there are, I'll take them all. So then I have some ammo to trade, Yeah, that's that way you still have the cool one that you own, but you also have some ready to go just in case you meet somebody with a cooler one.
I like that. What's what's the greatest pull you've gotten in a trade? What's the best one you've gotten in return?
Good question. I got a really good one from Man City Seattle. They're a couple of really cool guys. Actually, they're more than a couple of really cool guys. And I was pretty impressed that they took a trip all the way out to tiny little Green Bay, Wisconsin, just to see a soccer game, a preseason soccer game. But that game, it just so happened to rain, which is like big Seattle energy. And they were out there like still in the stadium bowl, like dancing and singing and jumping or whatever. And the staff had to tell them, hey, you guys got to get inside. There's a lightning warning. They're a fun group. But they ended up trading with me, and I was able to give them one of the like OG Milwaukee ones. So I made sure to, send them off with a good one. And they're also my pals on Twitter. So it's fun to, retweet their stuff and see their stuff. They have some really good flags out in Seattle. They're funny.
So quick question on how to consume a football match. Do you like to wake up and be in front of your TV at home? Do you like to go to the pub with some buddies at a supporters group? Obviously, for being in Madison, going to Breeze Field is wonderful. So no substitute to that. And for us in America, following English team, it's hard to get there in person. But do you have a favorite way to consume sort of on your day-to-day basis?
Well, it kind of varies between both teams. Like obviously, if Manchester played here, I would go, of course. But for that one, when you're asking TV versus at the pub, for me, it's like a big game, little game thing. So like living in Madison is probably about an hour's drive to the pub. And so, if it's a 9 a.m. kickoff, all of a sudden you're up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, which is not great. If it's a 6:30 a.m., forget about it. I'm probably watching from bed on Peacock. But it's I will go to the Highbury, which is the pub, for anything 9 a.m. or later if it's like a big game. Like if we're playing Chelsea, if we're playing Arsenal, or if we're playing a Champions League or something. I really do like the pub because being a Premier League fan in America, you guys kind of know, you find your team and you just watch them and it's just you and you're a fan as much as you want to be. And then all of a sudden you're a fan for a while and you meet one or two other guys who are fans. And then you slowly add to the crew as time goes. But like, I remember the days of not knowing who to watch with during the big games. And it's very fun to jump around in the backyard and go crazy by yourself. But it's more fun at the big games to be with all your pals and buying drinks and swishing scarves and whatever. So I really do enjoy going to the pub. Every once in a while too, our club will do something cool for us. Like maybe they'll have a raffle or they'll get a signed jersey or something like that. But no, I also do really appreciate watching at home. Having Peacock is incredible. As much as I love to hate the man and, be disappointed with how they treat the fans, whatever. Peacock is a pretty good steward of the Premier League, I'd say. It is kind of annoying that they don't have every game, but their replays are really nice too. If I have to work on Saturday, it's really nice to be able to watch it just on Sunday at my own pace. And usually I think when I watch the game alone, I'm doing more of like a tactical analysis. I'm watching how the wingers play off the strikers, or if we're actually doing 4 at the back or whatnot. But when you're at the pub, it's all vibes. You're there to see your homies and hope you win.
I'll back that. Those are usually some of my worst pods, is when Matt and I have been at Highbury, because I was not watching for what I need to watch for.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
It's amazing though, because the difference between like watching it at home versus watching it at a pub versus being there. Like when you're there, it's pure vibes. It's just energy. And you try to think back of like, when did this happen? How did this happen? Sometimes you can't even see it because you're far away from where the action happened. And then you have to kind of watch it back for that tactical piece, because it's just all energy, man. It's just crazy and you go hype.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're like eye level. When you're watching on TV, you can clearly see, oh, it's a 4-3-3 today. Like there's the 4, there's the 3, there's the 3. But when you're at eye level with them, you're just like, oh man, these guys are huge. And you can't really see positions or marking assignments or whatever.
So I gotta ask you, as a forward fellow, it's hard to say, fellow forward Madison fan. There we go. Yep. We're now maybe a little less than halfway through the season. Charlotte won today, which didn't really affect us, but Ford Madison currently in first place.
Yeah, top of the league. Nazim Bartman. He's top of
do we think we can think we can hold on to this?
Honestly, they're playing pretty well. I mean, things look really good. I'm a connoisseur of the defensive soccer. So it's really fun to watch Timmy Mel and Mitch Osmond really pull it together. It's been a long time for the Mingos since they've had a second center back who's really like got the cojones to play in center back for the Mingos, because the defensive midfielders leave them exposed very, very, very often. So like you have to be able to step out and you have to be willing to get beat and then not get beat to really be a good player. And the two of them, Mitch has been good for last year and good this whole year, but Timmy Mel has been a revelation at center back. He's been really a strong player, and you don't lose if they don't score. You take points if you keep a clean sheet. And then up front, Cheney is scoring, Bartman is scoring. You need a little bit more from Derek Gebhardt, but that's all right. He's probably my favorite player. He scored yesterday, so how much more do you really need? But he's a really fun player. I really like him. But they look good, and I haven't seen a team come to Breeze and just be better than us the whole game. We haven't gotten played off the pitch.
Yeah, that usually comes in about the 70th minute when we concede a penalty.
Yep, exactly. And actually, last night's game was probably really big, because that's exactly what happened to the Mingos against Central Valley Fuego last time. I think they scored 76 and 90, and this game we just had yesterday, 1-0 win, no goals conceded, obviously, and we looked good the whole game. It's going to be a long season, and somebody's going to get hurt. So I'm looking forward to seeing what bench players step up this year and who really kind of makes a bid for themselves to be on the team next year.
Matt and Parker, I've told you both this individually about Christian Chaney, striker for Ford Madison, but he is the Antonio Rudiger of USL League One. He is the master of shithousery.
Yes,
he's good for a yellow card, good for a goal, just about every match.
My kind of player.
Yeah, as a rival fan, can confirm, hated Rudiger. But yeah, no, Chaney, can't you see? Sometimes your goals just hypnotize me. He's fire, and when he scores, he does a backflip, which is somehow even cooler. It does like emotional damage to the other team.
All right, well, turning back to the Premier League here, I got to ask you, because City, Chelsea, we've crossed paths in the transfer market last couple of years here. So we got Raheem Sterling from you last year. You took Mateo Kovacic from us this year. First of all, where does Mateo Kovacic fit into City's lineup?
Oh, the same spot as Gundo, right? Like the exact same spot. I'll be honest, I really liked Kovacic coming out of Juventus. Did he come from?
Injured.
Yeah. He was the kind of player who I would get like FIFA 15 or whatever, before he came to the Premier League. Maybe not 15, but whatever. And he's a fine player. It looks like he has like the techers to actually play with Pep's team, which is crazy because a lot of players don't. It looks like he can do just about everything Gundogan does besides like scoring goals. And so it's going to be interesting to see if he can add that to our game to get in the team ahead of like Phil Foden or Silva,
Yeah, I know that's Matt is a big fan of Mateo Kovacic.
I am indeed.
Parker, I'd put you kind of in the middle ground.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't super sad to see him go, but I've been a big fan. I think he was great at the club, and for the situation when we got him and how we got him, and we were on a transfer ban and we kind of snuck him under the radar somehow. And he was a solid member of our team for a while, so mostly positive.
But I think we can all agree though that the guy can't shoot unless it's a worldie. So I mean that should work. I mean, you got Erling Haaland up top, so you don't really need scoring midfielders.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt. Why can't he play a whole game? Like, I don't watch Chelsea day to day. So does he really just run out of gas or what?
I mean, when he was the only one that we could rely on that was healthy in the midfield, yeah. When you need to play him every single game, because Conte played half a season, and that was before we had Enzo, and then Enzo kind of took over. And I mean, Kova also, he's playing pretty much every game for Chelsea. He picked up an injury. He came back, then he played pretty much every single minute in the World Cup, and then had to come back into Chelsea and keep playing every single minute. So yeah, I can understand why he ran out of gas, but yeah, I mean, he's somebody who can go for 90, but yeah, just we had to use him so much out of necessity that we kind of wore him down a little bit.
Yeah, reasonable.
So how about Raheem Sterling? This was our first experience with him, with Chelsea, obviously. I'd like to say he had kind of an up and down season.
Yeah,
he had some ups, he had some downs. But overall, I'd say finished with some decent numbers. Is that kind of what we need to expect out of Raheem Sterling, or do you think he's got room for more?
Yeah, I mean, he's such a polarizing player because he's not there when you need him to be, but then he is there when you don't need him to be. I don't know how to say that. He scored some great goals for City. Probably one of my favorite meaningless goals, just like a really pretty goal, was Sterling against Southampton to win in like the 97th minute or something. Is this really great, curler around the corner, like left wing, right corner, whatever. And it was just such a beautiful goal, and it did win the game, I suppose. And I remember right where I was jumping up and down in a school. So people were looking at me and I was like, no, something important just happened. So he has scored big and important goals. But at the same time, yeah, he's got the same symptom that he's got the same disease, not disease. He's got the same thing that Gabriel Jesus has. Like, you can score tap-ins when you play for Pep Guardiola, but when you have to go somewhere else and score goals on your own, it's a lot different skills. He's fast, man. He's super fast, always has been. But he's not going to be, he's no Robin, he's not going to like score a goal a game or anything like that. He's smart. He's a good player. They say he reads the game well, which is probably going to be really important for like any coach of Chelsea to understand how that works. But yeah, he's a good player. He, in terms of being like a city legend, I wouldn't say he's quite up there yet, but a credit I will give him is I don't really buy shirts all that much because I spend my money on soccer scarves, but I do have a Sterling shirt. I have I have 3 guys on shirts. I have Aguero, De Bruyne, and then I have Sterling too. So he is a big player, big for the England national team, but he's not gonna be the difference between winning or losing a final.
I like that. You'll get them when you don't need them, and you won't when you do. I think that pretty much sums up his season with Chelsea. Would you guys agree?
I do, but at the same time, we didn't have many people show up consistently all season, so he was one of the brighter spots in a season that obviously didn't fare too well.
I like it. Well, boys, you have any other questions for the evening?
I personally don't. I appreciate you taking the time to kind of walk us through the gauntlet of scars and collecting, and kind of how you got into it, how your soccer fandom and everything like that. Definitely appreciate it.
For sure. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, Ethan, much appreciated. We'll have to bring you back on when Chelsea plays City this year. Get a little opposition analysis.
Yeah, and like I said, when you watch a TV game, it's a lot easier to see who's doing what and who isn't doing what.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for coming on, and hopefully we'll be seeing you at Highbury here pretty soon.
For sure.
Right.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, and we are back. Boys, let's go a little bit off the rails here. No more transfers. Let's Matt, you and I talked kits a little bit last week, but we have a little bit more info now. So let's get everybody's opinion. Kits are going to be releasing about the time that this pod is released, I would assume. It'll be Monday the 10th, but without a sponsor. So we do have a mock-up of what the home kit and what the away kit are. We have an idea that the third kit is going to be a mint green kit. But that home kit specifically going to be very 90s inspired. Parker, you've seen a little bit of it. I know you're outside of Matt. I would say you are our second kit connoisseur on the pod here. What do you think of our kit selection for this year?
So I reserve judgment until I see it on the pitch, just because seeing photos, it doesn't translate as well until you see like all 11 and you watch it. You watch the team in them, I guess, and how it shows up on TV and how it kind of looks on TV actually plays a big part for me of just like my overall opinion. So some kits kind of don't look great when we first release the photos, but they look cool when you see them out there. So first impressions of the home kit are, I don't care for them. I don't like the white, and it looks metallic-y, and I'm just not sure how that's going to translate as much. Like the Nike swoosh and the crest are in this like metallic gold, and it just looks interesting. So I kind of want to like go and feel one and hold it and see it in person and try it on and see how I look in it, kind of a thing, before I go out and buy it. But the point that's interesting is when was the last time you saw a Chelsea kit without a sponsor on the front? In America, it's super common. I guess not anymore with sponsorships kind of becoming more commonplace on jerseys. But the Premier League hasn't had sponsorless jerseys for a while. So boys, will you be purchasing a kit without a sponsor before one gets named?
I don't know. We all know my history with jerseys. It's not so much about what's on the front, it's about the player on the back. So I don't know. I think it's so tough because it's like, well, if it's a shitty sponsor and makes the kit look like dog shit, then yeah, you're gonna want the one with no sponsor. But if it's a sponsor that you like or something like that, then you don't want to buy two kits, one with the sponsor, one without the sponsor. So me personally, I'm going to play the waiting game. I'm going to see who the sponsor is and go from there.
So Parker, you and I have talked about, I don't remember specifically what it was we were talking about, but something where, it's like the manufacturer defect one. And it's like, it's just rare, right? So getting a sponsorless kit before the one with the sponsor comes out, because they're not going to keep running the one without a sponsor. That's going to be like a special kit to have. And we were talking about the Kai Havertz kit. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they only made a certain amount of them. I'm torn. I already hate the home kit. Matt, I told you last week, it looks like broke boy shit. The away kit, I don't mind. I wouldn't mind getting that. And the mint one, I would have to see in person because mint is weird. But I told my wife that I wasn't spending any money on Chelsea this year because they hurt me so bad.
Steak.
But I've also told you guys that I would go gay for Enzo Fernandez. So
yeah, but that doesn't have to do with anything monetarily though.
And Ford Madison just released a reversible kit. I don't know. Hypothetically, yes, I would buy a sponsorless kit. I'll just answer it that way.
No, I feel the same way, man. I kind of want to get one just to have one, because it's like a unicorn in the wild. But I have a feeling they're only going to announce the home jersey tomorrow. I have a feeling they're going to wait a bit for the away. I would only buy the away without the sponsor. At this point, I think that's kind of to me, it's the no-brainer best out of the three from what we've seen and heard. So I would get that one, but I wouldn't touch the home, not yet.
So I've seen a lot of anger about there not being a sponsor yet. I understand the disappointment, but are you guys angry that we don't have a shirt sponsor?
I am, for one reason. And it's because if you were negotiating, like if you were in charge of this and you were negotiating with the shirt sponsor, they would be like, well, we weren't on there to debut it, which is when the most eyeballs are going to be kind of focused on the kit. It's when they debut. So that deal goes from, call it 30 million down to 20 million, just like that, because why would you pay top dollar if you're not going to get that initial press run? So I think it's a miss from Chelsea. I think it's a financial miss on our point, and we will not be able to get a top tier person to pay top dollar for being on our shirts, because now there's this weird middle ground of there are going to be some people without it, some people with it, and maybe that creates more buzz inherently, but I don't think they're going to look at it that way. I think they're going to look at it and say, we missed the big pop, and so you get 60% of the price now.
It doesn't bother me. I mean, looking at some of the sponsors that we could have had, like, no thanks. Granted, grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? So, it makes me think of like in the first Rocky movie, when he comes out in his robe, it's like some meat packing plant is like the sponsor, because he couldn't find anything else that would like sponsor him or anything. I feel like we might end up in that situation, you know, like have like Moe's Tavern from The Simpsons just plastered right on the front or something like that, just some local establishment. But I mean, we're a big club, so we want a big name to go with that. Hopefully we have talks with the right sponsor, and hopefully something gets handled sooner rather than later. But am I upset about it as of right now? No, not really.
We need to bring back the old school MLS style where it says like Wizards or Fire or Galaxy across the front. Just have it say Chelsea, self-sponsored. Manchester City's already doing it. So
What about Clearwater? Clearwater Capital,
yeah, or PIF.
PIF. Clearwater Capital, sponsored by PIF.
Flag stays down.
Yes.
All right.
I will say quickly though, the training kits that we dropped this year are very nice. I think overall we've had a couple of years where I haven't been super thrilled with a lot of the things we put out, and this year to start it, I'm happier. The one thing that annoys me with Chelsea though is it feels like we're the last ones to ever release our jerseys, which this happened last year too. I think FIFA was the one that confirmed our third kit when FIFA came out. It's just like laughable. Everyone else is like first, second, and then like their thirds will come out soon. It's pretty much already happened, and I think Chelsea's just always late, which I don't get, man. I think it's stupid.
So which of the training kits do you like better? They've got the black and white, and then I've also seen the blue kind of patterned one. Do you have a preference as to which one?
I've only really seen the black and white, so I will look for this blue patterned one. Are they for sale or are they just?
I think they went on sale.
Here, hold on.
Oh yeah, those are cool. Yeah, I have seen those. I like the black and white. I think they're super clean, and I really like the. I like how they were done.
Yeah, and I wish Trivago was a bigger company. Because dude, they stuck with us through, the dark times. That 3 would not, and their logo is just super clean. It looks good no matter what you throw it on. Unlike, we had Carabao as a training kit sponsor for a while, and that just looks stupid. Trivago just looks real nice, but I agree with you that the black and white with the little bit of gold trim is just chef kiss.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the blue one just because it's more my style.
As a surprise to no one.
Yeah, I know, right?
And Matt, I'll steal your thunder a bit, but only because I agree wholeheartedly. If we got Nintendo as our kit sponsor, I'd buy all 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I've owned every console they've ever put out, really. And so being a Nintendo fanboy mixing with my club, yeah, you got my money.
And think of all the Barcelona things you could do with the kit. You throw Mario's face on a kit, and you throw Sonic on a kit. Like, yeah, big fan.
Be all for it.
Those are the only Nintendo characters I could name.
Kind of good Sega,
you only named, yeah, you only named one.
No, Sega is now a Nintendo thing, so Sonic is one. You could have a kit for every single one of the different Pokemon. Have like 700 different kits.
That would be sweet.
Or just like the best 10 or whatever. That'd be great.
Oh my god, that's
endless possibilities.
That's gonna be our next 5-a-side of the draft. 5-a-side draft is Pokemon.
Oh,
but speaking of, Parker, you're back this week, and so you're fresh on the 5-a-side draft scene here. So I gave you the option to create today's theme. And what did you
Yep.
choose?
I chose best five-a-side office characters or office personalities.
We do have some listeners who are based overseas in the UK. This is a straight up American one. This is we're not adding people. So the way we've been doing it is a keeper, a defender, 2 mids, and a forward. Matt added a manager last week only because it was fitting. But Parker, we'll let you start us off here.
All right. Cool. I'll just go get a striker out of the way because I don't know many strikers who are going to be on the board, and I'm gonna take Jim Halpert.
Solid pick. Matt, number 2.
I'm gonna take somebody who is very, very well known in the art of self-defense, especially. So I will use as my defender Dwight K. Schrute.
I feel like we're kind of running a theme in this first round here. Just the people we're selecting. I'm going to go with a little bit of a wild card. We talked about Antonio Rudiger a little bit earlier on the pod. I think I have somebody like that. So my defender is going to be Andy Bernard.
Nice. I like it.
Collins, you bringing it back?
Nope. It's on you.
All right. Give me Creed as a midfielder.
So shifty.
Want to talk about dark arts? Oh, that's Creed to a T. All right. So for my goalkeeper, I'm gonna go. Actually, I take that back. I'm gonna go to the midfield. I'm gonna take Daryl from the warehouse.
Oh, fuck you. That was gonna be my next pick. Damn it. All right. I like having forwards who are bruisers up front. So I'm gonna go with Roy. I feel like Roy can beat you up a little bit.
Very nice.
It's a good pick. Give me Stanley in goal. It makes me wish we were playing hockey because he'd be a little bit bigger and could kind of take up some more space in the goal. But my team's not going to concede any goals, so Stanley can just do his crosswords.
He's got to put the crossword down. That would be the only problem. All right. So for my goalkeeper, I'm gonna go with somebody very light on their feet, somebody very agile. Give me Oscar.
Oh, you bitch. You and me are on the same wavelength today, and I don't like that. All right. Well, I need a thinker. I need a mastermind in my midfield. So I'm going to go with, I think, the greatest mastermind in the office, and that's Robert California.
Lizard King himself.
My other midfielder across from, on the side of Creed, it will be Ryan, Mr. Business School himself.
Yep. Very solid.
Ryan started the fire.
All right. So for what do I want to go? Midfielder, forward. I'm gonna go with a sleeper pick at my forward. He's not gonna look like much. He's really not.
God damn it if you did it again.
But after watching this man play basketball, just an absolute sniper. Give me Kevin.
Kevin Malone. Love it. Not who I was going for, but that's a great pick. All right. Well, I need someone who can hold down the fort in the mid to go alongside Robert California. But also somebody who can misdirect a little bit. So I'm going to go with the Scranton Strangler himself, Toby.
Excellent.
Nice work. Last pick. This is out of left field a little bit, but my defender, and I believe the first female taken in the draft. Give me Meredith.
He's been on a bender since 1973.
She can drink with the best of them. She can get physical, as we know, and I think she can distract the opposing team's forwards.
She can.
She'll be quite successful.
She's not great with cars, though. There's a little bit of a troubling history, but so I'm gonna throw this one out there. I need a ruling from the committee here. For the midfield, can I take Scott's Tots?
You can't take a whole nother team as your midfielder.
Just asking. Because they're not individual characters, but they were a collective characters. So, okay, just thought I'd ask. All right. So, oof. All right. So, for my midfield, I need somebody who can keep it a little bit light, somebody who likes to play on the edge a little bit. Give me Todd Packer.
You did it again.
There's a storm brewing.
Oh man, asshole. All right, so I've got a keeper left, and I'm gonna go with someone who is like, when you look at the grand scheme of the show, should have been a keeper. Things kind of went south after he left. That's Michael J. Scott. Don't know how he fell to the very last pick of the draft, but I'll take him. So just to recap here, Parker had Stanley in goal, Meredith in defense, Ryan and Creed in the mid, and Jim Halpert up top. Matt had Oscar in goal, Dwight in defense, Daryl and Todd Packard in the mid, and Kevin Malone up top. Ultimate hold-up play right there. Me, I had Michael Scott in goal, Andy Bernard in defense, Robert California and Toby in the mid, and then Roy up top. So you can always check out these polls. Let us know who had the best five-a-side team by going to at Flag Down Pod on Twitter. Make sure to vote on the poll there. It'll be up for the next week or so. Boys, that might be our best one yet. Very well done on the theme.
I'd like to throw in an honorable mention for a midfielder. Guy's just a great mind, very smart. Give me Bob Vance Refrigeration as an honorable mention in the midfield.
I can go all day because I was debating between Michael and Jan in goal.
Jan runs a tight.
I was debating between Meredith and Jan for the record, Collins. I also wanted Gabe on my team somewhere, but it didn't work out.
Oh man, we could probably just do an office pod. Let's just scrap this one right now. All right, well, boys, that wraps us up for another week. Any closing thoughts?
Hit drop tomorrow should be hopefully an exciting day. We'll see what happens.
Good to be back, boys. Good to be in front of the camera again and chatting with you guys. It's been an eventful summer so far, and just I'm in that stage in the cycle where I have hope again, which is going to be my ultimate demise. I already know that, but hey, I know it going into it, so it's okay. But I'm in hope stage again.
Until we lose to Wrexham 1 week from now.
And go sign Paulie Mullen.
Yes.
Super Paul Mullen.
Super Paul Mullen.
All right. Well, as always, you can catch us anywhere you get your podcasts, not Twitter, Google, Spotify, Apple, places like that. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. 5 stars. You can trash talk us all you want in the review itself, but 5 stars would be great. You can follow us on social media. You can follow the pod itself at Flag Down Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And I don't know. We'll be back on Twitch at some point, but not. I would assume not for the foreseeable future here while Parker gets unpacked. All right. Well, boys, congrats on another week here. 1 week closer to Chelsea football. And as Parker said, there is hope